Hello, this is BlueStar, Defender of Equestria, and this is my Afterthoughts review of Newbie Dash. Oh man, this episode was just so awesome, and I really like it. It was definitely confusing, and I could see why a lot of people would be, upset about this episode. But I still really like this episode. Yo! Oh, sorry, can't resist. It's the FMP, sir. Be easy on her. It's her first day in the squadron. Yeah, right. How'd a Muppet like her get past selection? Oh, sorry, could not resist. In some way, kinda does summarize this episode in some ways. Because I'm sure that Captain Price probably isn't saying this to be mean. He probably says this to all the new guys. And this is definitely the way the military operates. But, yeah, I can understand why people would be definitely not liking this episode. And apparently this episode is very divisive. It's because one half are like, oh, we totally get this episode. Yeah, we love it. And the other half is like, what? The Wonderbolts are just horrible jerks. What's wrong with them? It's like, oh dear. Obviously, this episode has very military roots. And to hopefully keep this video relatively short, although I'm sure I'm going to fail, that I am simply going to direct you to this article, which is actually part of a commencement address by William H. McRaven, who basically did a very good job in a way showing why these things in the military exist. And basically the article is Life Lessons from Navy SEAL Training. Being a military enthusiast, I really like it, but I think that a lot of you might like it too, and maybe might even get something out of it. So, So I'm going to hopefully leave that there. The short answer is that these things exist in the military and civilian life as well. As Sasamachan said in his video, that, there's a difference between, like mean teasing and friendly teasing. It's like, hi there, Crash, as opposed to something like, hey, Dash, you jerk! It's like, rah, rah, rah. It's stuff, I guess. The point of this episode is that we all have bad days. Especially sometimes when you're the new guy, you make mistakes, you'll embarrass yourself in front of your entire team, and you'll feel horrible. And in a way, this episode is saying is like, no, you shouldn't do that. Because you know what? Everyone's been where you've been. Everyone was the new guy at some point, and everybody has these embarrassing nicknames. And that was sort of the point, and that, and not to mention, so if Rainbow Dash was really upset by this, she could just go to if somebody said to her, oh, hi there, Crash, she could just say, well, hi there yourself, Clipper. And that's really kind of the intent. It's meant to be fun, sort of it's all a good fun kind of a thing. I mean, obviously nobody likes to be teased, but the short answer is that no one here is meaning to be hurtful. I would like to think in these situations, if the person who was being teased really was like, I can't take this anymore. It's like, that's what people called me when I was a kid. It hurts my feelings. It's like, people would be like, oh, we're sorry. Of course, not all the time, but in some ways that was kind of how this episode ended. It's like they realized that, Rainbow Dash is basically saying to her, it's like, you keep calling me Crash, and it sort of hurt my feelings. It's like, what? Well, we're sorry, we didn't really mean anything by it, Because we all have these nicknames, I do like this lesson that, that even in a show like MLP, it's not always rainbows and butterflies, that sometimes bad stuff will happen, and sometimes you'll literally fall flat on your face, and when you do, you shouldn't feel too badly about it. You shouldn't let it drive you nuts or anything, because you know what, especially when you're the new guy, we've all fallen on our faces when we've been the new guy. And, and it's sort of almost showing how we should deal with that. It's like, yeah, that crash was just so epic. And Rainbow Dash kind of laughs. It's like, oh yeah, you know what, you're kind of right, Because the alternative is to basically be, in a way, almost be a slave to that mistake and never let it go and just beat yourself up about it and just basically trap you in the past of that mistake and not move forward. So I definitely like the first approach a lot better, because unfortunately I've done that myself, is that sometimes I'll beat myself up about a mistake and just, okay, when I should have just let the mistake go. It happens, sometimes you do your best, and sometimes, regardless, things still go wrong, and things still happen, and, you shouldn't beat yourself up about it. You should obviously learn from that mistake, but you just simply shouldn't beat yourself up about it. once again, I'm kind of getting off track, because this episode is very confusing, to be honest. It really is, because in some ways, the central lesson isn't very clear, but at the same time, I really like what they were trying to do. Because I think the thing that I love the most about this episode is simply that it feels so real. Everything they did, they got it right. You know, I've been to the kind of air shows that the Wonderbolts are quote-unquote portraying, and they just got everything right, even down to sort of the style of the radio announcer. And it's like, even some of the tricks that they're doing are actual stunts that the Blue Angels, basically the human versions of the Wonderbolts, do. Including when two airplanes fly head-on towards each other, and oh my gosh, I love that, that's awesome. But anyway, it's like, yeah, everything that they did, it was right. In some ways, the interesting thing about this episode is that it feels like it's a much more adult episode, and that it's written for the adults. Because obviously, again, the direct military reference is pretty obvious, but there's a lot of other civilian things here. It's like, oh, you're in a new job, or you've just moved, or you're in a new school, but all these things feel a little bit more adult, a little outside, in a way, the target audience. But at the same time, there's definitely things here that the target audience could get out of this episode. So, but ultimately, in a way, that is why I like this episode, because it does feel real. It's like, I can relate to this episode. And of course, this is why a lot of people do not like this episode, because they can't relate to this episode, and they just see the Wonderbolts as being jerks. And I can honestly say that it's easy to look at it that way. But the good news is that, no, I don't think the Wonderbolts are jerks. They're just, they're just not. I think it's just that simple. It's like, they all mean it in good fun, and they're not really meaning any harm, because boys will hurt you simply for the sake of hurting you. But this is not what the Wonderbolts are doing. They're in a way, like in the military, there are things like the person who did the worst has to clean the compound. The reason for that is, it's sure just to motivate you to not be that person. And again, it's important to note that all of the Wonderbolts have probably been that pony at some point. They probably all had to clean the barracks by themselves. Probably at some point, including Spitfire as well. So, I don't think the Wonderbolts did anything wrong. And in fact, this is almost a secondary point of this episode, or maybe even the main point, I'm not really sure, is that Rainbow Dash has to basically learn to play by the Wonderbolts rules and be a team player, which is why I also love this episode, is that this was a hard thing for Rainbow Dash. She says it herself. All her life, she's been a showboater. It's been all about her. Now, all of a sudden, she's in this very, very team-based organization. And now all that has to go out the window. It's like, it's not about you, Rainbow Dash. It's not about you being front and center. It's about you being a part of this team and just simply, like when you're a Blue Angel, it's like if you're the number 6 plane, your job is to follow all the other planes and stay in the number 6 position. It's not to try to take the number 1 position. It's to simply stay in that number 6 position. So if you try to take the number 1 position, you'll crash into all your teammates and everyone could die. But at the same time, the number 6 position can be just as important as the number 1 position, because, again, if you don't do your job, it could basically lead to you and everyone around you crashing to their death, so as the old saying goes, there's no I in team. It's like, everyone has to do their job, otherwise the whole team suffers. And in a way, this is sort of the lesson that Rainbow Dash learns, but yeah, Rainbow Dash definitely has to learn to, be a team player. But the good news is that she does. An interesting thought, though, is that even Spitfire says, I've drummed ponies out of the Wonderbolts for less. What Rainbow Dash did was pretty much the same kind of thing that Lightning Dust did. They kicked her out. So, in theory, they should have kicked Rainbow Dash out. Because, yeah, she definitely committed a major offense here. It's like, showboating without telling anybody. And basically could have gotten a lot of ponies hurt. That would have been really bad. And it's not that, oh, no one got hurt. That's not the point. The point is that she did something very wrong. But I guess they figure, well, you know what? We know Rainbow. We know she's a very big showboater. She's the new girl here. So, you know what? We'll give her a second chance. And maybe they also know, it's like, yeah, Rainbow Dash, can't be very much a showboater, but she was also willing to learn to change. So we're gonna give her that chance to change. And unfortunately they do, and it works out. I really, really liked Rainbow Dash towards the end of this episode, because yeah, she's become so mature. It's like she takes her punishment like an adult, I guess. But, you know, she realized that, okay, I made a big mistake. I deserve to be punished for this, so I'm not gonna complain about it. I'm just gonna take my punishment. And besides, I'm really, really happy because I'm a Wonderbolt! Yay! Good for you, Rainbow Dash. Good for you. Yeah, I have to disagree with Dr. Wolf on this point, is that Rainbow Dash definitely deserved this. She definitely did. Because she's passed just about every test the Wonderbolts could throw at her. And sometimes, like it is in the real world, that, you know, the reason she's not a Wonderbolt is because there were no spots available. So, now that one's opened up, she instantly is promoted to a Wonderbolt. Yo-ho! It did kind of come out of nowhere, but again, as sometimes that's just life. But yeah, this episode was confusing a little bit, especially the middle part. It's like, Rainbow, that wasn't the advice they gave you. It's like, no, don't go and impersonate the maid 6. That's not what they meant. It was sort of funny, but it was also sort of, But yeah, it's like, no, Rainbow, no, don't do that. That's not what they told you to do. No. But, you know, there was still some funny things here, and I kind of liked it, but there were definitely a lot of cringe-worthy things there, because, yeah, it's like, I can't help but think the Wonderbolts are thinking, oh, why did we promote her? But then again, you know, it's like, oh, she's the new girl, hopefully she'll figure it out. I hope. There was some also kind of funny moments, yeah, like when talking to Soren, it's like, I can't help but think that Soren is thinking, Rainbow, are you flirting with me? Because if you are, I find this really awkward. Another interesting thing I noticed is that, oh, Spitfire was actually massaging one of the other ponies. Oh, that's nice. And I do have to say, it was so weird seeing Spitfire naked. Because, well, we've always seen her in a uniform, so without her uniform, she really does look, well, naked, so. So anyway, overall, this episode was still really good. I relate to it a lot, even being just a mere military enthusiast. But even so, I still really can relate to this episode, because we've all been the new guy. We've all had bad days, you know, stuff goes wrong and all that. There's definitely ways that most people could relate to this episode, and I definitely liked what they were trying to do. And I'm so glad that Rainbow Dash is a Wonderbolt and that she's become even more mature and that hopefully, you know, maybe this will lead to some other things down the road. I mean, that's the next question is, you know, what does this mean for the future? Well, I'm honestly not really sure, but but I'm pretty sure it's gonna be awesome one way or the other. Yo! So I look forward to seeing how this turns out for you, Rainbow Dash, and I'm just so proud of you. I think I feel a song coming on. Everything is awesome. Everything is cool when you're part of a team. Everything is awesome when you're living the dream. So way to go, Rainbow! Yo! So that is the end of my Afterthoughts review of Newbie Dash. This is Blue Star. Stay strong and pony on. Blue Star out.